Sa pagbisita ni Australian Ambassador Hae Kyong Yu sa GMA Network, tinalakay niya ang pagbubukas ng kanilang bansa sa mga Pilipinong gustong mag-aral o magtrabaho roon. Ibinida rin niya ang bilateral military exercises ng Pilipinas at Australia na ginanap sa gitna ng issue sa West Philippine Sea. May unang balita si Vicky Morales.
Ang isinagawa ngayong Indo-Pacific Endeavor 2023 ang unang bilateral military exercises sa pagitan ng Pilipinas at Australia ang ibinida ni Australian Ambassador to the Philippines, Hae Kyong Yu, sa eksklusibong panayam ng GMA Integrated News.
Our bilateral program with the Philippines is really the centerpiece of this flagship activity. We will be carrying out probably the biggest and most complex and certainly first amphibious exercise that we have engaged in with the Philippines. And this will involve 1,200 Australian military personnel and around 700 AFP personnel. I think this coming year we will be having around 160, more than 160 joint exercises and activities with the Philippines. So you can imagine there will be many more things coming up even after the IPE 23 is completed.
Isa ito sa magkakasunod na mga military exercise na isinagawa sa Pilipinas sa gitna ng panghaharas ng China sa bahagi ng West Philippine Sea.
But China asserts that exercises in the region must not conflict or interfere in South China Sea disputes. What's your reaction to this?
Well, this is where the rules-based order is so important. When the international law makes a decision on those disputes, then it is all our responsibility to adhere to that. To not challenge it, but to adhere to it. So to the extent that the arbitral award made very, very clear what part of the West Philippine Sea really, I think the rule was that the whole West Philippine Sea is within the EEZ of the Philippines, then it is actually upon all of us to respect the decisions that are made under international law.
But China does not even recognize this, the arbitral ruling.
And I think that is the biggest problem that we are facing with.
When China Coast Guard unleashed their water cannons against Philippine vessels at the Unang Shoal, you call this dangerous and destabilizing.
Australia's position on this has been constant, and we have always mentioned that this is a very important international waterway, not just for the Philippines, but for the world. And in an environment like this, we believe that UNCLOS provides the rules and guidelines about how countries should be actually operating in this very important part of the world. And what we saw with the water cannon was really against all of the rules-based order that we want to live in.
So if the Philippines decides to elevate this continued harassment of China to the UN General Assembly, can the Philippines count on Australia's support?
Australia always supports international law and rules-based order. So anything that is done to promote that, of course Australia will be supportive of that.
Natalakay rin sa aking panayam ang binabalangkas pa ring Code of Conduct sa South China Sea. Ito yung kasunduan na magtatakda ng alituntunin sa magiging pagkilos at reaksyon ng Pilipinas, China at ibang bansa na may inaangking teritoryo sa South China Sea. Bagamat hindi kabahagi ang Australia sa negosasyon para sa binubuong Code of Conduct sa West Philippine Sea, may interes din daw sila sa kahihinat na nito.
What Australia wants to see through the Code of Conduct negotiation is to ensure that whatever is agreed does not disadvantage those that were not part of that conversation, that it actually still is in line with international law and rules-based order.
May hiwalay na kasunduan ang Australia sa Amerika at United Kingdom na tinatawag na AUKUS na titiyak daw sa isang malaya at bukas na Indo-Pacific region.
The main objective of AUKUS is for those three countries, in particular, well, the US and UK, helping Australia acquire nuclear-powered submarines. but with conventional weapons. And that's a very important point to make.
How will this impact the Philippines, AUKUS?
We believe that what we are doing here through AUKUS, which is for Australia to acquire nuclear-powered submarines, will help the Philippines in terms of keeping the region safe. We believe Australia being armed with nuclear submarine will ensure that we actually help with that deterrence effect for the whole region.
There's also talks of a joint patrol with Australia and other allies as well. Could that possibly happen this year?
When my Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Defense was here in the Philippines in February, he had a very good conversation with the then Secretary Galvez about the possibility of doing joint patrols. And I think it's fair to say the conversation between our departments, defense departments, are progressing very well.
Bukod sa sitwasyon sa West Philippine Sea, tinanong ko rin si Yu sa mga planong investments ng Australia sa Pilipinas at mga posibleng oportunidad para sa mga Pilipinong nais magpunta sa Australia.
I think the trade and investment, it was a little bit underdone. So we've really put a lot of effort in ensuring we really maximize the cooperation in this very important area. This is not just about Australia wanting to sell our things to the Philippines or wanting just the Philippines' investment into Australia. For Australia, it is just as important that we get more Philippine products going into Australia and we get more Australian businesses investing in the Philippines.
How welcoming is Australia for Filipinos, let's say, who want to study or work there?
Very welcoming. You just have to look at me to see how multicultural Australia is, and that's something that I'm really, really proud of, being an Australian. And we have excellent skills worker migration programs which welcome people with the right skills that our country needs to come and become part of the vibrant multicultural society that is Australia.
Mauna ka sa mga balita, bisitahin at mag-subscribe sa GMA Integrated News sa YouTube. Sa mga kapuso abroad, samahan nyo kami sa GMA Pinoy TV at sa www.gmanews.tv.